Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a rather exciting new item card coming out in the Pokemon trading card game. It's a new tool card, as it happens, and it's for Metal Pokemon, and I kind of think this is really quite fun. But maybe that's just me. I tell you what, how about I tell you all about the card, and then you can decide whether or not you think it's fun as well. So, it's called Metal Goggles, and it has been revealed and translated by the lovely people over at squeaksgwe.com. And, well, it's an item card. And you put it on Metal Pokemon. And when you put it on Metal Pokemon, it reduces damage done to those Pokemon by 30. And it means that your opponent's Pokemon cannot place damage counters on that Pokemon using effects of their abilities or attacks. It makes you immune to damage counters, essentially however they're put down. Well, I'd say however they're put down. Let me make one quick exception here. Shrine of Punishment. Shrine of Punishment would not stop this here because it is a stadium card, and that's not actually covered here. So, okay, Shrine of Punishment would go through, but pretty much anything else would be stopped. One of the first things to mention here is it's Metal Frying Pan. Except Metal Frying Pan reduces damage done by 30 and takes away your weakness. This reduces damage done by 30 and stops damage counters being placed. And I'm willing to go on the record right at the beginning of this video and say, at the moment, in the format in which we are currently playing, I prefer Metal Goggles. And I don't know that that's going to carry on. I don't know that that's going to last forever. There's absolutely every possibility that weakness becomes more of an issue in the future. But as it stands at the moment, as it pertains to this very specific format we are playing in at this moment, I think this is better. Now, the reducing damage by 30 is just plain great. There's no argument around that. Hard Charm was a good card that saw quite a lot of play, and that reduced damage done by 20. And Eviolite was a very similar card, which reduced damage done by 20, although only did so when attached to a basic Pokemon, and that saw a fair amount of play. And Metal Frying Pan has been popping up in metal decks here and there since it was released. So, I don't know at all why anyone would think this is bad. As far as I'm concerned, it is good. And I don't think there's any real argument against it being good. It is a good card, because it just builds on a legacy of good cards that have seen play. So okay, the reducing damage is good, we've got that out of the way. So now, would we rather reduce weakness with Metal Frying Pan, or would we rather stop damage counters with Metal Goggles? Well, let's have a look at the damage counters first of all. One of the obvious things here is Decidueye. This is a flat-out, dumbly good counter to Decidueye. Decidueye lets you put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon per Decidueye per turn. That is crazy good. And Shintaro Ito, the 2016 World Champion, got 17th place at the Tokyo Champions League using a Decidueye deck. And frankly, and I made a video about this, I'll pop a link in the description, but it's generally Alolan Ninetales here. That's the difference. Alolan Ninetales lets you search for item cards and pop them into your hand. 2 item cards when you evolve up, which means that you can search for rare candy. And if we remember that it evolves from Alolan Vulpix, which for 0 energy with its beacon attack allows you to search for 2 Pokemon, then clearly here you search for the Stage 2 and Alolan Ninetales, use Alolan Ninetales to get the rare candy, and long story short, Alolan Ninetales GX makes Stage 2 decks way more consistent than they essentially have been for a very long time. And that means Decidueye is likely to come back. I mean, Forest of Giant Plants going away basically got rid of Decidueye, but now Alolan Ninetales brings it back. And Alolan Ninetales Decidueye can just crush decks. Decidueye comes along and just does so much damage so quickly that, you get to the point where you pop a 60 HP Pokemon down on the bench, let's say, I don't know, Magnemite. Yes, I know that they're a lightning Magnemite, but just follow the example through with me. Then you end up in a position where if your opponent's got 3 Decidueye on the field, you can't bench this, because your opponent will just KO it with 3 Feather Arrow. That's a little bit of a pain. Well, in comes Metal Goggles. Metal Goggles have got your back. Now, at this stage, it's worth mentioning Field Blower, and I'm sure a bunch of you watching this video are going, Wassy, Field Blower, Wassy. And they're correct. Field Blower will get rid of Metal Goggles, and it will make it a completely moot point. They can just be popping this damage down as and when they please. But here's the deal. They've got to find Field Blower, and they haven't just got to find Field Blower. Finding Field Blower is part of the problem. Finding Field Blower at the exact right time is a big part of the problem here. Because let's say you pop down your Magnemite, you attach your Metal Goggles, your opponent can get the KO with their 3 Decidueye, but they can only do so if they get their Field Blower this turn. They don't get Field Blower this turn, they don't get KO with Decidueye. And I think that's the big difference here, is that this can absolutely swing matchups. Now, this isn't the only thing. I mean, one example over in the expanded format could be Trevenant Break. Trevenant Break, now it's really dropped off since Wally got banned, but Wally isn't the only thing that made Trevenant viable. Trevenant's still a decent card. And Trevenant puts 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon using Silent Fear. And with Dimension Valley out, that's for a single energy. Yeah, that's pretty good. But here's the thing, right? Pokemon that have this attached, they don't get the damage counters. And I used Decidueye and I used Trevenant as examples. We're not in a hugely dropping damage counters format at the moment, but this is one of those things that is just going to keep coming around again and again and again and again and again. You might look at Metal Goggles and go, Wassy, I am not scared of any Pokemon right now that drop damage counters. And if that's the case, brilliant, good on ya. But that doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. How about Espeon GX? Espeon GX is Divide GX. Put 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. We might as well add another little line underneath that, just so long as they don't have Metal Goggles attached. Because if they do, gutted Espeon in yo face. And there's going to be more Pokemon in the future. Now, if we go back to Metal Frying Pan, the thing the Metal Frying Pan offers is getting rid of weakness. Well, at the moment, getting rid of weakness just isn't really an issue. I mean, if we look at the recent Philadelphia Regional Championship, which is the most recent kind of big tournament that's happened in the Pokemon trading card game. And now, because of the new rules, they actually had like a top 72 in that tournament. Sorry, a top 78 in that tournament. And honestly, it wasn't looking particularly relevant in terms of fire. Now, honestly, in terms of fire decks, we saw, wait for it, 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 in 51st place, Ho-Oh Salazzle. Yeah. I know I was only saying wait for it then as I was trying to scroll down seeing when the first one actually was. And Ho-Oh does 180 damage, so he's going to get a one-hit KO anyway. And Salazzle, now to be fair, Salazzle's 2 energy 110 against something like a Duskmane Necrozma will make a big difference. But fire Pokemon really aren't seeing much play right now. Makago GX is likely to be quite good when it comes out in Lost Thunder. The attack says you can discard as many basic fire as you like attached to Makago, and you do 50 more for each one discarded with 50 base. Sorry, I believe that's actually any basic energy attached to Makago. And then you've got Blacephalon, which allows you to Lost Zone as many fire energy from all your Pokemon as you like, and you do 50 damage for each energy put in the Lost Zone. So for those Pokemon, they're not really worrying about weakness. They're going to get one-hit KOs anyway. They might just have to get rid of kind of one more energy. So actually, at the moment, the weakness isn't that relevant either. So you're in this weird situation where you've got Metal Goggles and Metal Frying Pan, both of which reduce damage by 30, which is unquestionably good, although if your opponent plays a Field Blower before they attack, irrelevant. And then one of them takes away your weakness, which isn't that relevant at the moment. And the other one prevents damage counters, which isn't that relevant at the moment. But I love that we've got them both. And honestly, these are both great cards. These are both cards that should always be at least in consideration for every metal deck that you make. But one isn't necessarily better than the other. And when you're deciding between them, what you need to do is sit and look at the meta. And if you're worried about being in a format with lots of fire decks, then yeah, go Metal Frying Pan. If you're worried about stuff like Decidui, go Metal Goggles. Here's the other thing, and I need to mention this very quickly before I leave. If you just want to reduce damage by 30, well, now you've got 8 cards that do that in your deck rather than 4. I like it. I'm going to give it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I don't think it's some amazing, has to go in every metal deck ever made kind of card. But I do think it is a very good card that is going to see a fair amount of play. And for that reason, that seems like a fair score. But maybe you want to tell me if you think it's a fair score or not. Great news! Comment section, go nuts, be nice, you know the deal. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And if you've never checked out my other channel, youtube.com/WassyPlays, now is the best time to do so. The Transformers trading card game launched this weekend. I am covering it pretty extensively on my channel, so I think you should go and have a gander. It's a great card game, come play with me. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.